This video is important. This video is, again, I want to make things sure here. I'm not trying to convince you to do whatever it is that you do as an instructional designer or talent developer, but I will address what ADDIE is and how pretty much is instructional systems design is dead. I'm pretty much convinced of that. There's only a few of us caring enough to do it right. But regardless of the case, I'm going to share with you the biggest piece of marketing BS I've ever seen. And so here we go.
Core praxis.
All right. So recently I was sent this document, right? I was sent this document. There was on a post, and I actually reposted it on my LinkedIn. So the link is below, so you can go see the post if you need to see it, if you're on LinkedIn or not. I know there are a lot of people here on LinkedIn, but I'm going to try to be quick on this because also I know you ain't got the time, and I ain't got the time. Really, I'm going to distance myself from the stuff because it's like talking to a wall. So this document is hilarious. It's saying 8 ways ADDIE is killing your learning culture. All right, let's explore. Forget the audience. ADDIE doesn't require you to talk at the audience at any point. Really? Okay. Check this out. You can pause it there and read through it. But basically, the original model of ADDIE, containing ADDIE, is the IPISD, Inner Service Procedures for Instructional Systems Design. It is actually the culmination of the movement called as Systems Approach to Training, systemic design, right? So that means that you actually have to include everything: the user, the program, the organization. What does the organization want? What does your company want? What does your company want people to do? And what people should be doing? That's the focus. And that's the focus of ADDIE. That's how ADDIE should be done. If you're reading something else that ADDIE doesn't say that, then ignore it because it's garbage. It's simple. All right, cherry picking. Number 2. ADDIE is so vague that it pretty much allows anyone to adopt whatever design approach they're like. Well, I have bad news. The promotion of the 5DI model or human-centered, all this flavor you can throw in there, right? Human-centered design or whatever the case, all of that is the same thing. Every time you propose something to a learning designer, they're going to tell you, oh, I pick whatever I want. Oh, I just do this or I do that. Or I just do the design piece or not the development piece. Whatever. It doesn't matter. That's not an ADDIE thing. It's not a problem with ADDIE. Everybody cherry picks whatever they want because everybody thinks they have the way. The one thing we know is that not everybody knows everybody's context, right? So you don't know the specifics. So you can't really address the specifics because you don't know them. Once you know the specifics, then you'll be able to say, yeah, you are out of whack here, or, you're on point. So cherry picking, that happens with every single thing that is put out there. 5 moments of need or whatever. Action mapping. Smokes and mirrors. ADDIE sounds like a process without actually being a process. Wrong. Check that out. That is a process that contains 19 blocks. Within those blocks, there are specific instructions of how things are done, how the analysis is done, and how everything gets picked out. If you don't practice that, well, that's not the problem of ADDIE. That's just you don't know what the hell you're doing. I didn't know either. I just picked this up 5 years ago. So yeah, it blew my mind. Hopefully it helps yours. Check the links in the description so you know more about the proceedings and what ADDIE really is. The answer is always a course. Well, that is also wrong. The answer is not always a course. The answer is whatever tasks are selected to be trained or not. And how do you define that? Well, there's a job task analysis. Wonder, what do people do at work? A job. What do you analyze? A task. What are tasks? Well, tasks have subtasks involved, right? So if you know how to set up a project in Zoom, then there are requirements that maybe your organization has. Yeah, set up a project in Zoom, but also have meetings set up with AI annotation and all that stuff. If it's a requirement, great. That's what you need to figure out. So those are job performance measures. Most people call them today KPIs. So not always, of course. There could be things that you find by frequency of the task, whether they are solved with a job aid or whether they are solved with an actual face-to-face training or in learning or just operational fixes, which has nothing to do with instructional design. All right. 5 is folklore. Unlike models such as 5DI, which is a ripoff of human-centered design, ADDIE isn't derived from a theory of learning. Are you insane? Robert Gagne. Let me throw just a couple of names. Robert Gagne, Robert Mager. Those two folks were involved in the back end with Robert Branson in developing the model that contains ADDIE from FSU. So, and it's for work. It was actually for military occupations, for actual jobs in an organization. Now, I'll give you a caveat. Not many people know that today. Not many people practice that today. But that's not the problem of ADDIE again. That is the problem of people not doing things right because they have the wrong information, such as this garbage that we're seeing here. All right, it's chaos. Organizational scale ADDIE likely means your learning activity is a Wild West. Everyone's analyzed. Well, yeah, if you're not organized, it doesn't matter what you're using. You could use 5DI and whatever. If you have an instructional designer and there's a senior instructional designer, that person should be the one doing the analytics and the analysis. And it should be determining also the internal and external evaluations. Oh, yeah, because ADDIE does have an internal and external evaluation. So check that screenshot because that's going to hit the next thing you're going to see. Or actually, your last point. So next point. You learn, we don't. ADDIE is not inherently iterative. You should develop a solution and move on. Really? Yeah, that's just education. That's course making. Has nothing to do with ADDIE again. Iterative. You want to know about iteration? The ISD process is an iterative process. Check the screenshot. All right. It's an iterative process. And also in 1990, for those that went to school, learned something in 1982, and thought, okay, ADDIE is completely linear. In 1990, the Air Force revised the models and made it iterative to the point of checking within each stage because it's an input-output process. If you want to know about input-output processes, check Guy Wallace's stuff. His models are based on ISD processes, and he adds performance stuff that he knows from programmatic instruction, Thomas Gilbert, and many of the other names out there. Not going to waste time for that, Vernia. And last one, happy sheet culture. Because ADDIE doesn't require business outcomes to be determined. Oftentimes, the evaluation sits to the level of participant enjoyment. Is it? Well, I think you've been listening to, I don't know, Talheimer's book or whatever. Again, a reflection of poor practice in the industry does not mean that the process itself is tainted. The ISD process clearly states the evaluation component. Check the screenshot where it tells you that the last thing you want to use is user opinion and a participant opinion. So yeah, that in itself is completely wrong. Now, if people are using Happy Sheet cultures, you know who uses Happy Sheets? Training Development Magazine or Training Development Conferences, many other conferences where you go and you go into your speaker sessions, which I'm pretty sure many of those folks are part of, they use Happy Sheets. So those should be criticized, right? That's a bad practice. Yeah, I agree. You should be using hard data. In other words, what can people do in the job? All right. So that's it for me. One last message is to Gabrielle Bamey or something like that on LinkedIn. She is totally a fan of the stuff. She claims that she knows the original document of ADDIE. You know, anyway, for anybody else, there is a clear invitation to join me live, have these discussions, and explain this further for me, because I already invited both of those folks that were involved to have this conversation, just so I can learn better, because obviously I have no clue what I'm talking about. But you can check the links in the description, then learn some more. All right, we got that off the box. Finally, I can go back to my happy world, and I promise I will ignore all this BS from the time on. And Elliot, stop sending me this stuff, man. It's not worth it.